Hey, this week on Vegas Weekly, we talk about why all of us self-appointed Vegas experts are probably wrong. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, August the 21st, 2021. We got an interesting show for you today, a little bit of news, a very long viewer question answer / Vegas tip, and we'll feature another hotel, this one off the strip, that I think is worth your time and money. So there you go. Just a few quick housekeeping notes. This coming Wednesday, we will not have a regular Wednesday show. We'll be back with another attempted live stream. This one at 8 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Vegas time. The thumbnail for that should already be up, so hopefully you can join me. It's basically, we're going to talk about the upcoming trip because I want to and because I can. So if you're not doing anything next Wednesday night, drop in. We'll probably hang out for an hour or so. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to drop by. We will do another Vegas Weekly program a week from today. And then the following Monday, we'll have what I think is our 5th podcast. Yeah, we'll do a podcast the Monday before leaving for Las Vegas. It will not be a Wednesday show the following 2 Wednesdays because they will be travel days for me. I'll be going to Vegas on the 1st and coming back on the 8th. But there will be a lot of video. We'll be trying as best we can to put together some sort of daily vlog. So we'll see how that goes, but should be fun. Okay. Vegas news today. We'll start out with that. There's not a lot of news, and it's mostly COVID news, which is really not stuff we love to talk about. Just looking at some of the headlines, just the toll, I guess, it has taken on Las Vegas, not just financially, but in human costs. Las Vegas recorded its 5,000th COVID-related death this past week. It's a pretty sobering number over the course of a year and a half or so. On a positive note, at least 50% of the people in the state of Nevada are now vaccinated, so hopefully that number will continue to rise. And it may continue to rise because people are going to have to prove their vaccination status in order to attend a number of events. Just looking at some of the conventions coming up, the NAB convention in October, that's just 2 months away, will require proof of vaccination, as will the CES convention, one of the largest conventions in Las Vegas, coming up in January. A number of other venues will have various sorts of restrictions in place. A couple of things that came to mind, I know the Brooklyn Bowl for events will require proof of vaccination. So, and starting on September the 13th, which I believe is the home opener for the Las Vegas Raiders, they will be requiring proof of vaccination status in order to attend the games. And I believe, at least at the time of my reading, it was the only NFL team that had taken that step. So if you have plans to attend any sort of major events in Las Vegas over the next several months, you might want to do a little digging. Pretty much a search that just says Las Vegas conventions requiring vaccination will hit you to a website which will give you a lot of information. I could post a link today, but it's going to change on an ongoing basis. So there you go. Of course, there's other Nevada-related COVID news, but that seemed to be the most impactful on any sort of visitor. So that's what we went with today. So there you go. Long day for me. I'm on the coffee to get through this show. So we'll be back with my very long answer to a question in the Facebook group coming up next. Okay, you watch the beginning of the show, you see that the title of this week's episode, if you want to call it that, is why I'm wrong. And you might be too. And it comes from some thoughts that I had as I was looking through a series of very similar questions that have popped up in the Facebook group and pop up in the Facebook group pretty much every week. We've had a lot of new members lately. We hit 34,000 the other day, and been growing over 1,000 a week. So there's a lot of new people coming in. And a lot of them are either visiting Vegas maybe for the first time, or, haven't been in some time and are, trying to figure out what the best strategy is, And they ask a number of similar questions. I'm staying at this hotel. Is this a good hotel, or should I change somewhere else? Do I need reservations everywhere to, get something to eat? Some people will have very detailed lists of things they plan to do. Practically have every meal and every morning and every afternoon plotted out in some respects. People ask whether they should rent a car, or how they could best visit Hoover Dam or any other outlying regions. They ask what their budget should be. They ask the best way to get from the airport to their hotel. And people, by and large, with the exception of those who insist that everyone should visit the Green Door, and those who insist that everybody should already have Googled this themselves, people do their best to give answers that have some value. From time to time, I even pop in and may offer a suggestion or two. But, the kind of give and take, the discussion or name calling in worst case scenario between people debating the merits of particular properties or particular restaurants or particular things to do in Las Vegas, it's all over the map. And there is a kind of established sort of set of rules or guidelines or things that those of us who offer these kind of advice, as I put it, self-appointed experts, we kind of have a gospel we read from, and there are certain things that everybody says. Oh, Circus Circus is trashy, or the Strat is a terrible location, or Bally's, or Park MGM, or whatever the property is a really good value and a good location, that sort of thing. If you want the best of the best, do this. These are the best buffets. These are the best restaurants. These are the sites you can't miss. And I was thinking back now over 25 years ago. Surprisingly, I remember some of it. Coffee break. Not sponsored, but they can certainly sponsor an episode if they'd like. And thinking back on my first visit to Vegas, and obviously things were a little bit different back then. You didn't have YouTube. There weren't tons of videos you could watch about different hotels, or what certain areas of the city looked like, what certain attractions looked like, what certain restaurants looked like. We purchased guidebooks. The guidebook over here. Guidebook. 1996 guidebook. That's what we had. Big guidebooks. So you did your best research as you could. The airlines and the various properties would sometimes have little ads, or even go to a travel agent and they would give you little magazines that would talk about the different hotels and properties. But there wasn't nearly as much information as there is today. It wasn't as accessible to as many people. But I had certain preconceived notions about what I wanted to do in Las Vegas. And initially, the Las Vegas trip was just a weekend tacked on to a much larger visit to northern Nevada and the Bay Area, which is still the longest vacation that I ever took. Over 2 weeks I was gone, which I'm not sure how I even got the time off, but I did. So, and just like I said, just looking back on it, I was wrong most of the time. I was really excited. The thing I really wanted to go see Excalibur and Luxor. And I went. The pyramid thing was kind of cool, but I could kind of see that from the street. And I guess the castle was kind of cool, but I could see that from the street. When I actually got inside the two properties, I was kind of, not that impressed. I ended up staying at the Flamingo because I was fortunate enough to basically crash in some friends' room. They were nice enough to allow me to sleep there. Otherwise, not sure I could have afforded that because it was over a weekend. I rented a car, which I generally never advise people to do, particularly on a first trip. But it did give me the opportunity to visit some outlying properties. At the time, places like the Hard Rock and the Rio were like the neatest, the coolest, best properties out there. So we went out and visited those spots, and like the Rio looked really cool too, and it had a really nice big pool, and it was obviously a huge property. And again, I was there and I was like, okay, I'm here. I had the buffet. It was pretty good. It was considered the best in town at the time. I also, for some reason, had the Circus buffet, I guess because it was the cheapest in town. One of them may or may not have given me some sort of food poisoning. I'm not really sure if I can blame that on either one of those buffets, truthfully. It may have had something to do with altitude and alcohol. But in any case, a lot of the things that I went to Las Vegas expecting to do and expecting to be wowed by, I wasn't. Went downtown one night. That I really liked. I mean, I wanted to go because they've just recently done the Fremont Street Experience light show, so it was still a pretty new thing. And so it was, I wanted to go down there for that, but I really enjoyed the sort of old school casino feel. Even though I didn't necessarily do a lot of gambling there because I wasn't down there that long. But I was impressed enough by it that the next time that I went to Vegas, I actually stayed downtown. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. We ended up going to a comedy show at the Improv at Harrah's. And it was just a total sort of accident, really. Harrah's had some sort of a deal at the time. They were one of the very first, I think the first large company that did a sort of linked card. So, they eventually linked all of their different total rewards cards so that regardless of what casino you went to, you didn't need a separate card. But if you had a card and then you got a card at the Harrah's in Las Vegas, you got, I think, like 2 tickets to the comedy show. And there were 3 of us, and I think we bought an extra ticket. And we ended up going that night and had a great time. Had no expectation of going to a comedy show. We did very touristy sort of things. We went to like the Hard Rock Cafe and Planet Hollywood, the restaurant, because there was no casino at that time. And, it was all fine, but it was kind of plasticky. Maybe a little bit like Excalibur, Luxor was. I guess the point of this sort of rant is that I think probably I would have had a better time in Las Vegas if I hadn't had so many preconceived notions of what's good and bad, of what I was going to like and what I wasn't going to like. And that's why really the best advice I can give people that are going for the first time, and sure, there may be a couple of specific things that you really want to do, or a restaurant that you've heard a great deal about and you want to try, or a show or a concert that you want to attend. But I really recommend going with a really open mind and just sort of letting Las Vegas happen to you. Because again, almost all the things that I thought I really was going to be so into turned out to be kind of disappointing. And it was the little surprises along the way, whether it was playing blackjack all night at the Flamingo, or like I said, or stumbling into this comedy show I wasn't planning to attend, or hanging out downtown for longer than I intended to stay. So I guess that's the best advice I can give people, is don't listen to me. And don't listen to the other people who are telling you something. Yeah, I mean, objectively, if someone asks you, is the Strata a good location? Well, not if you want to easily walk around and see other hotels. But if you just want to stay in one place, and if you really are interested in the rides up in the Sky Pod thing, then maybe it's a great location for you. Everything has to be qualified to some degree, and different people are going to love different things. There are people who love Circus Circus. There are places I really enjoy staying and playing that are certainly not fancy. You know, the Flamingo comes to mind. I've stayed there like 3 times in the last few years, and I enjoy the casino, and it's not by any means a sort of classy upscale joint. Same time, I enjoy hanging out at the Wynn. And neither one of those would have been something off the top of my head I would have said I want to do. So, again, let Vegas happen to you. Don't go with too many preconceived notions about what you're going to like and what you aren't going to like. And just explore and let the city take you where it will. Because those are then you'll find out whether you really, maybe you hate Las Vegas in the daytime. Some people do. Well, you can stay up all night and sleep all day. That works. Some people love it downtown. Some people hate it. Some people think all the noise and excitement right on the Strip is where they want to be. Other people would rather be a little bit separated from that and have a little bit more relaxing sort of spa-like experience. And it's all out there. But you need to find it for yourself. So don't listen to me. Don't let me tell you that you're wrong, or don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong because you've decided to do this or that. Be aware, because there are, obviously differences between people and differences between different restaurants and hotels, etc. That, you're not going to like everything that you expect to like. But that's life, and that's Las Vegas. All right, that's my rant. We'll be back with a favorite Las Vegas hotel and casino that might be the right choice for you. So yes, I really am drinking hot coffee, even though it's like 100 degrees outside. And I had soup for lunch, so I might be weird. You might be too, if you've made it this far through this video. We've been talking more or less on a weekly basis about different hotel, casino, resorts, whatever you want to call them, that I think represent a really good deal, or maybe a place that people don't always think about staying, but can be a really good choice. And today I thought I would choose a property off the Strip that I've stayed at several times. I'm actually going to stay there for one night on my upcoming trip. And that property is the Orleans. And some people, obviously most people probably fly into Las Vegas. And some of them will rent a car if they feel like it. They want that sort of independence. And obviously you can save money from taxis or Ubers. So worthwhile choice. But I think particularly maybe people that are driving in from out of town, or people with families even. I think off-strip properties offer a lot of positives. And I think the Orleans is a good budget choice. Now, I will say the property has gotten a little more rundown over the last decade or so. But it's still, I think, a solid choice. You've got free parking. It's very easy access as far as parking in and out. You're right on Tropicana, just a short drive from the Strip. You wouldn't want to walk it. And even though there's not a whole lot of appealing sort of attractions around the Orleans itself, there's kind of a cool little sort of Irish bar across the street that people have talked about as kind of a cool place, I guess. I don't know, I haven't visited. But there's a lot to do in and around the Orleans, and it's not just a gambling mecca, even though a lot of locals will stop in there and play. Even though you have a huge casino, really it's massive. Bigger than many of the Strip casinos. You've got your standard bars. There's a lot of, I would say, good value restaurants. Unfortunately, the buffet, which was, I think, also a good value, has not come back. Hopefully it will someday, but who knows with the world we live in now. But there's a food court with a lot of sort of kid and family friendly and budget friendly options. I think they have the TGI Fridays for that sort of fast casual sort of food experience, and a number of other restaurants that generally will not break the bank, which is nice. They have one of the biggest and most active poker rooms in all of Las Vegas. If you're a poker player, might be a good place to play. Keep in mind, some of these people are good, They may not be great poker players, but they're great in the context of the people they play with, So it can be a rough room from what I understand. But there's also a movie theater on site. There's a bowling alley. There's an arcade. There's a ton of stuff to do on the property and a pretty good sized pool. I mean, this obviously is not Mandalay Bay or MGM Grand, but it's a decent sized pool area. And again, if you got the kids along, they just want to splash around in the water, it's going to be a perfectly good option there. As I say, you don't really have access to many other properties without either pulling your car out of the lot, which is easy. The parking garage area that's enclosed is very close to registration, so very easy in out there. If you want to park, if you get lucky, you can park right on the surface parking, maybe 100 feet from the front door. So it's a really easy in out. And Tropicana obviously is a very busy street. You have easy access to the interstate. And it's just easy to get around, and you're not constantly in the middle of that strip insanity. There are a lot of conventions and events that take place around New Orleans. They have a showroom as well as the attached arena. So it's not uncommon to be there and suddenly you're surrounded by a bunch of, car show enthusiasts or a bunch of cheerleaders. So there's a lot of events that take place there. But they generally have a good number of rooms, not quite 2,000 rooms, I think around 1,800. So it's not too difficult to get a comp there or to get a good room rate, particularly during the week if there's nothing going on. So anyway, I just thought it would be worth mentioning an off-strip property. As I say, not the fanciest place in town, maybe showing its age a little bit, but I think still a really good option, particularly if you're driving in from out of town, if you've got some kids in tow, and you just want to be a little bit separated from the craziness on the strip. All right, speaking of craziness on the strip, again, join us for the live stream coming up Wednesday night. That'll be August the 25th by my count. And we'll be back again with another episode of Vegas Weekly next Saturday. Until then, I hope that you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We will. See you soon. Bye-bye.